In 1637, Dutch merchants bought contracts for tulip bulbs they had never seen. In 1720, British investors poured their fortunes into a company built largely on promises. And in 2007, banks approved mortgages for people who could never afford them. 3 centuries, 3 completely different assets. But every crowd believed the same dangerous sentence. This time is different. They were wrong, but they were not stupid. One of them was Isaac Newton, one of the greatest minds who ever lived. He understood gravity, mathematics, and the movement of the planets. But even Newton could not escape the psychology of money. So why do intelligent people repeatedly buy just before a financial bubble bursts? Because bubbles rarely begin with greed. They begin with a believable story. Every financial bubble contains a small piece of truth. Tulips were rare and beautiful. The South Sea Company had government support. American real estate had produced years of impressive returns. The opportunity appears legitimate. Early investors make real money. Their success attracts attention, and suddenly, everyone knows someone who's getting rich. That is when price begins replacing value. People stop asking what something is actually worth. They start asking how high it can go. In the Dutch Republic, tulips had become powerful status symbols. The rarest bulbs produced spectacular colors and were coveted by wealthy collectors. But during the winter of 1636 and 1637, people began trading contracts for bulbs that had not even been removed from the ground. Many buyers no longer wanted the flower. They wanted the opportunity to sell the contract to someone else for a higher price. Prices climbed because everyone expected prices to keep climbing. Then, in February 1637, buyers failed to appear at a tulip auction. Confidence cracked. People who had been desperate to buy suddenly became desperate to sell. Contracts that looked valuable days earlier could no longer find buyers. The tulip had not changed overnight. The crowd's belief had. Contrary to the popular legend, Tulip Mania did not destroy the entire Dutch economy, but it revealed something far more important. When an asset's value depends primarily on confidence, that value can disappear the moment confidence does. Nearly a century later, the same psychology returned in Britain. The South Sea Company offered investors an exciting story involving government debt, international trade, and the supposed riches of South America. Its shares traded near £128 at the beginning of 1720. By summer, they had climbed to around £1,000. Isaac Newton invested early, made a profit, and wisely sold. But then he watched other investors continue getting richer. Newton returned to the market near the top. When the shares collapsed, he lost a large fortune. His intelligence had not disappeared. His emotions had simply overpowered it. That is the real danger of social proof. When everyone around you appears to be winning, staying out begins to feel more dangerous than joining in. The same pattern appeared again during the American housing bubble. The story was simple. Housing prices never fall nationwide. Banks offered easy mortgages. Wall Street bundled thousands of those mortgages into securities. Investors borrowed enormous amounts of money to increase their returns. Homeowners, brokers, banks, and investors were all being rewarded as long as prices continued rising. The rising price became the evidence that the system was safe. Anyone who questioned it looked foolish until homeowners began defaulting. Suddenly, nobody knew which mortgages were worthless or which banks were exposed. Lending froze, confidence vanished, and on September 15, 2008, Lehman Brothers filed for bankruptcy. The crisis was not caused by one bad mortgage. It was caused by an entire financial system believing the same story. This is money psychology at its most dangerous. First comes a believable opportunity. Then come the early winners. Their success creates social proof. Social proof produces fear of missing out. Fear creates rationalization. Borrowed money magnifies the bets. And when the story finally breaks, the same crowd that pushed prices upward races toward the exit. So how do you protect yourself? Before buying an asset that everyone is talking about, ask 5 questions. What produces its underlying value? Would you still want it if nobody else knew you owned it? Could you hold it for 5 years if you were unable to sell? Are you risking your own money or borrowed money? And what evidence would prove that your opinion is wrong? If your entire investment depends on another person paying you more tomorrow, you may not be investing. You may simply be waiting for the next buyer. Tulips, South Sea shares, and American houses were different assets, but the human emotions behind them never changed. History does not repeat perfectly. Human nature does. The crowd will always promise safety, but near the top of a bubble, the crowd may be the greatest danger of all. Outlaw wisdom exists to uncover the financial lessons history taught the hard way. Subscribe and tell me in the comments which modern market you believe could become the next great financial bubble. They never taught you this. We ride until they do.